We are joined now by our political strategist tonight, Democrat Brian Rothenberg, Republican Terry Casey. Not a good night for Democrats here in Ohio and maybe across the country. So what should we should also point out that NBC is now saying
just called
Bernie Moreno is the winner of that race. Democrats need to do some work in Ohio.
I think we do. Clearly, even nationally, the numbers aren't showing up the way they were supposed to. First of all, I would say to everybody, on election night, you're never as good as you think you are or as bad as you think you are on election night. But Ohio Democrats need to take a hard look at what we're doing, just like any football team if you're running a losing streak, right? And we need to look at how we're running in the rural counties, how we're dealing with the ex-urban counties. I think the strategy to go after just women voters because of issue 1 clearly shows tonight that it didn't take. I think we got to talk to men, African-American men, brown men, white men. We didn't really have that message for them. But Franklin County is a bright spot. You picked up a Senate seat there. There was a Senate seat picked up over in the Dayton area. So there are some bright spots here. And Franklin County is the new sea of blue.
Yeah.
Terry, there was some concern earlier in the evening about how Moreno was faring against the senator.
Well, it seemed that way, but when Trump's margin, because one of the questions was Trump going to carry Ohio by 8 points, 10 points, it looks like it's going to be a wider margin. That clearly helped. And of course, the Ohio Supreme Court for 3, and the issue 1 thing to go down that much when you spend $38 million and they could barely get around 45%. Clearly, as maybe there's a country western song, can $38 million buy you love? It didn't quite work out.
But doesn't that go back to messaging? And this is something you said earlier, Brian. The messaging on issue 1 was confusing. First, because the Secretary of State changed the ballot language,
Correct.
But also because I don't think voters really understood what they were voting on.
They did not, and if you don't, you tend to vote no. It should have been made much easier. It should have been just, if you don't want politicians drawing with their own crayons where they run, you just have to vote yes. But it got too confusing. I will say one more thing. I thought that the Republicans did run a layered communication approach from the top down, and were very consistent in their messaging on television commercials, and that helped.
Yeah.
We just heard from Moreno a short time ago, and I know we're kind of all over the place, but this all intersects. We heard from him a short time ago. Was that a message of promise, of hope, of unification?
Well, I think he's trying to signal there's some things like education that if Trump ends up winning and he appoints a new senator, that senator is going to have to run in 26. So just when you think it's over and the television screens might be back on your side,
stand by.
It's still to come, and Ohio's still a pivot state in certain important things, maybe not for president, but for other things.
Yeah, but we keep going back to it. It's a pivot state, but it is no longer a purple state. This is clearly a Republican sweep. And when you look at the state Supreme Court, 3 seats that, there was a power grab. It's right now a 5-4 majority for the Republicans, and now to know that it might become 6-1.
Right.
That's a big difference.
And the Democrats had a good-sized budget, so they were able to put on a campaign and promote their candidates, but it didn't cut through because, again, at the top, the tide was so heavy.
Welcome back. We want our strategists to react to a bit of Senator-elect Bernie Moreno's sound. He just spoke a few moments ago, so we'll listen to that and we'll talk on the other side.
Today starts a new wave. We talked about wanting a red wave. I think what we have tonight is a red, white, and blue wave in this country. Because what we need in the United States of America is leaders in Washington, D.C. that actually put the interests of American citizens above all else.
Terry, your party, a big win tonight in this state with Bernie Moreno.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see what his new wave is, because during the campaign he didn't talk much about himself. He's never been in public office before, so in a way he's got a clean slate. But where does he want to take things, and how tight is the Senate? And remember, good or bad, Republicans might have the Senate, but it still takes 60 votes to
Yes.
get most things done.
It sure does.
Tomorrow morning, Bernie Moreno and Donald Trump, if depending on how this turns out, they're going to represent all Americans, and it's about time that politicians start representing all Americans once campaigns are over.
It's been a divisive time, and certainly here in Ohio, Donald Trump influenced just about every race on the ticket, including issue 1. Has there ever been a politician who's had more influence here?
No, and never has it been as acrimonious in the way that they divide to conquer.
All right. Thank you both for being with us.
We appreciate it. Stick with us. We're back in just a moment.